Thanks, Chris. Hi, I'm Richard Rogers, and this is Unity at Prescott, and we are so excited that you're here with us today. This is another virtual service. This is our second Sunday in a row, virtually doing a Sunday service with no one in the room, so I cannot contaminate you in any way. So you can open your mind, your heart, your soul, and receive all the spiritual good that's available to you because you are safe and protected in your own home, in your own pajamas, or however you're watching this today. So let's begin with prayer. So I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to the activity of God that is right here. That there is only one presence and one power, God the good. And that we open our minds and our hearts, our soul to all the good that God offers us. That we are excited to be blessed this day. We are excited that God is greater than anything that's going on in our life. That we take on a spirit of enthusiasm to receive all the good that God has for us. And so it is. Amen. So a couple of announcements I want to share with you. As you know, the campus is closed during this time. We will let you know, of course, when we're able to offer in-person services. So each week we're going to be offering you a Sunday service, that we believe will make a difference in your life. It's really dedicated to this time, to making a spiritual difference in your life. Also, we are also having meditations that are available to you online as well. And we're doing a couple of our spirit groups starting next month will also be available online and through Zoom and other ways through teleconferencing so that we can actually connect as a ministry. All of our prayer chaplains and pastoral care team are calling the members each month to check in with you, to pray with you, to make sure that you're all doing well during this time. So we are absolutely committed to supporting you so that you can be living your best life right now. So let's move into our time of meditation. And I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul as we move into this time of just pure peace. I want you to feel the peace of your soul. I want you to connect to the power of God in you. That you are not separate from your Creator, but you are the living expression of all that God is. Take another deep breath. And feel God right there. Feel God right where you are. But one of the most powerful things that we can know is God. When we know that the presence and power of God is within us, everything in our life has changed. Everything is different. For we are accessing more and more God. We're accessing more and more power, more and more love, more and more truth, more and more abundance every day as we access more and more God. That you have never been separate from your Creator. No matter what your thoughts have said, no matter what your experience has been, you can never be separate from your God. That you are the living expression of all that God is. So today we come together to celebrate our oneness with our Creator. To celebrate all that God is. To express the divine. To be the living expression of God's Spirit. That no matter what's going on in your life today, God in you is greater. And as you pray for yourself, your family, your friends, this ministry, our community, our world, know that you're unleashing a power of God in you that is greater than you could even imagine. That God in you is infinite. God in you is all powerful. So as we begin to express that power in greater and greater ways, we know that we are a force for good. We are a force for God. So all those individuals that are feeling worried or scared or anxious about what's going on in their life, we simply speak to their soul, peace, be still. For we know that God is with you and that truly all things are possible. In the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen. Fabulous. Thank you. So is life a blessing? We try that again. Is life a blessing? I noticed my voice got kind of high with that one. Is life a blessing? You know, I recently did a series of classes on the book, The Eye of the Storm. And one of the fundamental questions in that book and statements about that book is that everyone and everything is here to bless you, is for you, is for your good. And for many of us, that's a radical idea. That is absolutely a game changer. Because most of us were raised into a world where we believe that some things were for us and some things are against us. That we have to work against the things that are against us, and we can allow a certain level, but not too much help from the things that are for us. And so most of us have this mindset that says that life's kind of a 50-50 proposition. Some of it's good, some of it's for us, some of it's trying to help, and some of it's not. Some of it's after us. So the question that I have for you is, how much of your life is a blessing? Is 90% of it a blessing? Is 80% of it? Is 5% of it? Is 100% of your life a blessing? And so sometimes you say, well, if I was in Hawaii right now, then I'd be blessed. If I was in Hawaii, that would really be a blessing. Or if I was in a relationship now, that would be a blessing. Or if I could leave my house, that would be a blessing. Or if my spouse or my kids or my family would do what they're supposed to do, that would be a blessing. But I want you to see that right now, in this moment, is the only moment when you truly get to live your blessings. See, most of us have had an experience in the past where we consider that a blessing. And we can go back and we can think about those old blessings, and we think about how good it was, or how wonderful it was, or how much we enjoyed it. Or we can have a hope of the future and have a blessing for the future, that we hope for this or for that. But the only place where we actually get to live in a blessing is in the now. It's only in the now that we get to actually experience a blessing just for what it is. And so over and over again, my biggest concern is that we're going to miss the blessing that this moment is. That we're going to miss it. That we're not going to get every ounce of the good that it offers us. And so this talk is dedicated to thriving in place. Because, you know, we've all heard the idea that we're sheltering in place now, right? And the idea of sheltering in place is like that we're just supposed to stay put. And our ego, for most of us, hates that. You know, for most of us, our ego wants to keep us busy. We got to do more, and we got to be productive, and we've got to get it done. And this can really be an incredible spiritual presence in your life if you're willing to slow down and see the incredible blessing that this can be. Because what I know to be true is that if we miss a blessing, life kind of circles back around, and we have to do this experience again, right? You can probably think of an experience that you've had more than once. Whether you loved it or hated it, you can probably think of an experience that you didn't get the full benefit of. You didn't get the full blessing. You didn't get the real good that was available to you. So the universe says, no problem. I've got infinity on my side. I've got all the time in the world. If you need to go through this blessing 5 or 6 or 7 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 more times, I got time for you. And so what I want to make sure is that right here, right now, we get the blessing in this moment, and so that we can fully experience all the good that God has for us. In 2008, I was doing a lot of coaching with individuals. And a lot of people that I was coaching at that time were highly successful people whose life crashed in 2008. That they were unemployed, they were struggling, they weren't happy. And I really had to work with them to get them to see the blessing that that moment was for them. Because if we don't get the blessing, if we miss that opportunity over and over again, we have to repeat experiences. And sometimes the experiences that we're repeating are not altogether enjoyable. So if you had to just slow down for a minute and ask yourself the question, what is the good, what is the blessing that I'm getting right now in my life? Could you come up with 3, 5, 10, 15 blessings in your life that you're experiencing right now exactly the way your life is? instead of the way you want it to be or the way you think it should be, can you think of many blessings that you're having right now, just the way it is? So I've come up with a list. I came up with 7. That many of us have said that we wanted life to slow down. Well, guess what? Your prayers were answered. Life right now has slowed down to a pace that is probably slower than most of us ever thought was possible. You can go on the freeway now, and there are literally so few cars around you. It is crazy out there. You can find the best parking spots because life has slowed down. You know, one of the other blessings from this experience is that families are now required to be together. You know, that's either the good news or the bad news for us. But families are required to be together. We're actually getting time with our family at home. And the universe is actually asking us to go home and be with the people that are the closest to us. Right now you have time to read a book. Whether you like it or not, right now you have time to exercise. You have time to try a new recipe, to deepen your spiritual life, to realize that we're all in this together. And that's one of the things that is always true about the bigger situations in life. That it's not a red issue or a blue issue, it's not a Democrat issue or a Republican issue. It's a human issue. And right now we're all in this together. And the only way that we're going to move out of this situation is if we all work together. And I think that that's one of the blessings. Because really, in reality, there's so much good that's available to us when we really just open our minds to receive it. Ariana Huffington wrote a book called Thrive in 2014. And in this book, she makes 4 points that she believes are the requirement for us to thrive in any situation of life. She said that those 4 points are well-being, wisdom, wonder, and giving. So I want to focus on these 4 ideas. And I want to start with well-being. Because well-being is defined as a state of being comfortable, healthy, and happy. And I think for most of us right now, that's the most important thing we want to do. We want to be comfortable, we want to be healthy, and we want to be happy. And we want this not only for ourselves, but we want it for our family and our friends, our community. We all want to be comfortable, healthy, and happy. And she said that for us to live in a state of well-being, we actually have to learn how to focus on our own needs first. And she uses the illustration of the airlines. You know, when they give you the safety lecture on the airlines, they say, you know, you have to put on your own air oxygen mask first before you try to help somebody else. And for us to live in a state of well-being, we actually have to look and ask ourselves the question, what do I need to live in a state of well-being? And it may not be 4,000 rolls of toilet paper, right? That may not be the thing that helps you live at the highest level of well-being. We may actually have to go deeper. You know, my wife and I, we've committed during this time that we're doing regularly, hopefully daily, one creative action. And that can be anything. And one of the creative actions that we want to take is that we want to plant a garden. You know, there's so many people now that are thinking about planting gardens because the grocery store aren't as full as they used to. We made a commitment to plant a garden, and it reminded me of the old Chinese proverb that said the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is right now. And so there are so many things that we could have done with our time a year ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But the best time to really focus on our well-being and doing those things that really serve us is now. She came to think that there were 3 things that allowed people to live at the highest level of well-being. She thought the first one was that we get at least 8 hours of sleep. She said there's incredible research that shows that those individuals that are getting at least 8 hours of sleep actually function at the highest level. There's all kinds of research now that shows elite athletes, both college, Olympic, professional athletes, that if a professional athlete or an elite athlete is spending 9 to 10 hours of sleep a day, that they can function at the highest level because their bodies actually need that much time to repair. So there's Olympic teams that are actually changing the beds, changing the linens, putting blackout curtains on, so that their top athletes get as much sleep as they need to function at the highest level. The other thing that she said was that for us to move through the highest level of being, we have to have regular movement. We need sweat therapy. We need to get out. Those of you that are following me on Facebook, you know that last weekend I went out and I hiked almost 5 miles. And the emotional, the physical, the spiritual experience that I had hiking by myself and just being out in nature was just transformative. I've talked to you about, increasing my prayer life during this time, but also increasing the amount of movement, the amount of exercise, the amount of time that you sweat just as a way of purifying your soul. And the third thing that she said was prayer and meditation. That over and over again, the research shows that those people that are spending, she said, just 5 minutes a day in prayer and meditation, it really does make a difference. The next point that she wanted to bring up was the idea of wisdom. And those individuals that are functioning at the highest level of well-being are accessing their inner wisdom on a regular basis. They're actually listening to the wisdom that was within them, that is within them. And she shared a story of Pompeii in Italy. And Pompeii was destroyed by a volcano in AD 79. And what's interesting about that is that for about 15 or 20 years before that, the people of Pompeii were getting notices that something was wrong. There were plumes of smoke, there were tremors, there were earthquakes. At one point, all the dogs in the town ran away, or the animals were continually running away, the birds stopped singing. And this was happening for years before before the volcano exploded. And so what I want us to really look at is that sometimes if your dog's consistently running away from home, what I want you to see is that we have a problem, right? Because if we're not paying attention to our inner guidance, our animal friends absolutely are paying attention to their inner guidance. They're actually listening to the wisdom that's within us. And if we're going to live at the highest level of wisdom, the highest level of life, if we're going to function and thrive in life, we need to actually listen to our own inner wisdom. The 17th century French mathematician and philosopher Prescott said this: all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. That's where we are right now. That we actually have less distraction. Now we can turn on Netflix and watch it for hours and days at a time. But we actually have less distractions. And I believe that this is a spiritual opportunity to really learn to tune in, to feel the presence of God that's within you and deepen your spiritual life. Because one of the things that we know is that when we don't get the full blessing, the universe tends to turn up the heat, right? And so this is a pretty dramatic situation that we're going through right now. I mean, lives are being lost right now. And I believe that as a people, as a nation, as a world, we're being asked right now to slow down and listen to the voice of God within us, so that we can be guided, so that we can know our own inner wisdom and feel the power of that inner wisdom. The third point that Ariana Huffington makes is that to truly thrive, we need to have a high tolerance for wonder. We need to be able to experience wonder all around us. One of the blessings of being here in Prescott is its crazy beauty. It is just fabulous beauty. There's so much beauty around this town, in nature, in the lakes, in the forest, in the trees, in the blooming trees that are all blooming right now. That it's amazing. Walt Whitman said it this way: after all the great lessons, there is no more special sight, not the Alps, not Niagara Falls, not Yosemite, or anything else that is more grand and beautiful than an ordinary sunrise or sunset. The earth and sky, the common trees and the grass. You know, having lived in Naples, Florida, the sunsets are a religious experience. I mean, people go out, they take their chairs, they go out at sunset, they wait for the sunset, they watch the sunset, then they get their chairs and go home. And it's actually a spiritual experience. People go and they take time every day to just witness the beauty that's right in front of us. And then sometimes in the busyness of our life, we get a little jaded. We get a little, well, I've seen that, been there, done that. And then we miss the glory of God that's all around us. And that nature is one of the most powerful ways for us to experience God. And that we actually have time now to go out and watch a beautiful tree bloom, or watch the green grass come back, or watch a sunset, or watch a tree, or to walk through the park and have those kind of experiences. And that over and over again, our tendency and our willingness to experience wonder really is healing for our soul. And the final point she makes is those people that are really thriving discover their own inner generosity. And she makes a point that I think is just so incredible. She says all giving is not equal. She says that there are ways that we can give that actually deplete us, and that there's ways that we can give that actually empower us or fill up our soul. And I was thinking about that idea that all of us can think of a time or a situation that we gave into that moment, and that after that moment was over, that we walked out of that experience totally depleted, totally empty and wrung out, and like, why did I do that? And then we can think of a time where we gave in that moment, in that situation, to that individual, and we came out of that feeling so full, so expanded, so happy, because we gave. And that's a different level of giving. And that most of us are not always that conscious about our giving, to know the giving that we're giving into that is lifting us higher and replenishing our soul, and that giving that we're doing that's actually deplenishing us and actually making us feel more depleted, more empty. And so I want to give you some ideas of ways for things that you could look at. So the giving that tends to deplete us is giving that we're resentful for. When we stay in our story, when we stay in our drama. So when we're giving from a place of resentment, the likelihood that we're going to come out of that experience feeling replenished is really small. Right? But if we stay in our drama, if we're giving from a place of feeling like a victim, the chances are we're going to be depleted by that giving. Or if we're giving from a place of being unconscious, that unconscious giving is not really the highest and the best for us, that we actually have to move into a greater sense of awareness. Or giving that doesn't bring us to the table. And what I mean by that is giving that in such a way that you don't really acknowledge your own wants, needs, and desires. And the last one is the times when we give, when we really know that we were supposed to say no. You know, in an infinite universe, you may not be the one God is calling to give into that situation. Your no may be your most appropriate response. And when we're willing to honor ourselves, when we're willing to listen to our own soul, when we're willing to listen to our own guidance, we can actually say no, because we know that in an infinite universe, if it's not ours to do, then there'll be another child of God who will be called to do it. But when we don't feel like we have a right to say no, then over and over again our giving depletes us and we're not thriving. So what is the giving that fills us up? Well, the first one is the giving that connects us to something that feels bigger than ourselves. When we feel like we're giving to an individual or a project that actually takes us higher, that we want to see done, when we're invested in it. Those are the giving. Or when we know what we're doing is so important to that individual that we just can't wait to do it. In those situations, our giving actually expands us. You know, what I find over and over again is that the people that are the most successful are often the most generous. That they have learned that as they give, it comes back to them over and over again. All right, so here's the deal. I want you to thrive. I want you to get every blessing from this experience. I don't want us as a culture or as people to have to do this one again. I want us to actually take the advice of all the experts right now and spend more quiet time, to spend more time alone, to go deeper into your life, to read the book that you wanted to read, or to bake the thing or create the recipe that you've always wanted to do. I want you to really live from the inside out right now. I want you to thrive. Because I know that when we come through this experience, from really learning to trust our inner wisdom and guidance and living in an experience of wonder and giving all that we have within us to give, that we will come through this experience greater and more powerful than ever before. If we move through this experience as a victim, even when we come out of this experience, nothing will change. We haven't got the full blessing that's available to us. But right now, you're going to get to decide. In every moment, you're going to get to decide, is this experience here to bless me? Or am I a victim in this moment? And then over and over again, when you choose to be wildly, wonderfully, powerfully blessed, then every experience takes you into a greater experience of God and a greater experience of life. Well, let's pray. And I invite you to open your mind to all the good, to all the blessings, to the fullness of this moment. And to let go of any sense of drama or any sense of being a victim, any fear or anxiety, and just being open to all the blessings that God has for you right now. That God wants to bless you. That the infinite goodness of God wants to bless you right now. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. For a spirit, for a power that is greater than anything in the world. And so it is. Amen. So I want to thank you for being a part of our ministry. I want to thank you for your generous support of this ministry, especially during this time. If this message was of service to you, if it inspired you, if it helped you to live a greater life, I'm going to invite you to go to the donation button that is in the upper left-hand corner of our website right now. You can hit it and it'll walk you through a process that you can make a donation. If you want to drop a check in the mail, we would say thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're not sure how to do it, call the office and we'll walk you through that. We'll be happy to send you addressed envelopes for your giving that will allow you to give. So I know that this ministry, and I know that you are greater than anything that's going on in your life right now. And that we will get through this time. We will get through this time with ease and grace because God is with us. For all of you that are supporting the work of this ministry, I say thank you. Thank you for your generous support. Have a great week, and I look forward to being with you next week.